Alrighty, guys, we're in week 6 of the kind of Life of Moses series that we're in. Just for context, Moses' story runs throughout 3 different books in the Old Testament: Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Well, and Leviticus as well. Leviticus is mostly like laws and stuff, so 4 technically. And we're looking at Exodus, but pretty soon we're going to be diving into some other books because there's other narratives, other stories, other moments with Moses that we should look at. But we've been primarily sitting in Exodus, and the reason why is because this is really like the genesis. It feels weird to use a Bible word to describe the book of Exodus, but you get it. So this Genesis of Moses' story. It's kind of like the beginning, and then we'll look at the rest of the story as we go. So here's where we're at. In Exodus chapter 19, God instructs Moses and Aaron to come up to Mount Sinai. Now, Mount Sinai is at the bottom region, lower region of Israel, kind of at the very bottom, just north of Egypt, and then up here's like Jerusalem. They're way down here, kind of just past the Red Sea. And there's all these surrounding nations, and God wants Moses to come up the mountain to meet him face to face in order that Moses can get the law. And the law is essentially the governing order of the theocracy of God, meaning God is the ruler of the people of Israel, and these laws are how to follow God and to basically live as this holy nation that he wants them to be. And now this law has 2 meanings. The first thing is to honor God well, and the second thing is to be set apart, to be distinct from the nations around them. So all the nations around them, the Canaanites, the Jebusites, the Midianites, all those people all around the Israelites are all essentially like, they're insane. Like, we're going to see this later, but these people like sacrifice children, they eat baby. I mean, they just do weird stuff. I mean, they have sex with everything that walk. I mean, they're just freaks, right? And God's like, you guys, I don't want you being like that. And so I need you to have this specific rule of order in order for you to be following me and loving me, and then also being set apart from the nations. So in Exodus 19, Moses gets pulled up the mountain, and for something like 11 chapters, essentially, Moses is on this mountain getting the whole book of order, the law, the 10 commandments, everything you can imagine. And when he comes back down the mountain in Exodus 32, we see that there's this great problem. And here's the problem. So I'll read it in the first verse. Exodus 32. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron, Moses' cousin, and they said, "Hey, come make us gods who will go before us. This fellow, Moses, brought us up from Egypt, and we don't know what happened to him." So they're just like, "Where's Moses? We need to look like these other nations. These other people are like worshiping gods. We need to be worshiping gods." So Aaron goes, "Okay, good idea." So he starts like rallying all the gold in the camp, and then he like melts it into, and then he makes this giant golden calf, and then all the people start like worshiping around the golden calf and doing the things that you shouldn't be doing, drinking and partying and celebrating, and they're literally saying, right here, it's in verse 8, they bowed down to the golden calf and sacrificed to it, and then all the people said, "These are the gods, Israel, who brought us out of Egypt." So now they're all like worshiping these foreign gods and being like, these are the people that got us out of Egypt. So you get it. This is a major problem. So God's pissed, as you can imagine. And he sends Moses down the mountain. He goes, "Go freaking get those guys and tell them to figure it out, or I'm gonna light them up. We're done here." Moses is like, don't kill them, because these are your people, but I'll go down there and we'll like sort this whole thing out. Goes down the mountain, confronts Aaron. Aaron says, I love Aaron right here. He goes, "Aaron, why did you do this? What is this?" And then in verse 22, chapter 32, verse 22, he says, "Don't be angry, Moses," Aaron answered. "You know how these people are prone to evil. They said to me, 'Make us gods that will go before us.' Because for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't even know what happened to him. So I took some gold, I threw in the fire, and then boom, out came this calf. Right here. Then they gave me the gold and I threw in the fire, and out came this calf." So Moses is like, okay, this is a mess. We're becoming a laughingstock of all these surrounding nations, because everyone's kind of observing us and being like, that's that little slave camp that got out of Egypt, and now they like are already abandoning their God. So he rallies all the people who still follow Yahweh, and he goes, I'm going to go atone for your sin. He goes, back up the mountain, ask God to forgive their sin. God says there's going to be a little bit of punishment, and that's the end of the story. And they kind of have to calibrate, have to rebuild the Ten Commandment, stone pieces and all this stuff. And so it's just, you can see this is kind of a mess. So here's what I feel like the story means for us. There is something that, like a mentor of mine labeled called spiritual amnesia. What I mean by that is we have this tendency as humans to just like forget what God did for us. That's what we do, right? I mean, just in your groups, I mean, it's hard to remember what you've forgotten, but just think about it. Like, how many times have you been in a situation where, you know, you're tight financially, or you're in a difficult situation with like kids, family, marriage, whatever, or like you need a miracle with some type of like healing or like physical ailment, or there's another diagnosis, like you name it, and you've seen and heard or even experienced moments where God has done something for you or for the people around you, and now that like thing is happening again, and you're looking back and you're like, where is God? What is he doing? So that happens often with us, but it even happens often with the people that like we surround ourselves with, like our families, our wives, our kids, our coworkers, our friends, right? I mean, I just think, I think about this all the time in the context of like my marriage, for example, or my family, right? It's like, you know, we're in a situation right now where, you know, Ashton worked last year, had a great job, and then obviously she got pregnant, she quit, and now we're single income with a kid. And granted, I don't make a lot of money. This is not me saying I don't make enough money, but I'm just telling you, I don't make a ton of money at the church. And so now we're in this situation where it's like, okay, we need to like God to show up and to move. And I'm like telling her, like, you need to get a job. And she's like, I'll just be a stay-at-home mom. And like, well, what am I going to do? You know, I'm like doing this whole run around my head, constantly thinking, like, how am I going to make it? And I just forget that I was in this exact situation 2 years ago when we first got married, and she didn't have a job and she didn't have work or whatever. And we were struggling financially a little bit. And I was like, what are we going to do? And then boom, the Lord provided. And I'll give you an example. So literally, I'm like talking to my wife, like, man, I'm kind of nervous. I'm a little bit worried about the situation. I don't know what to do. And I was just like praying, like, Lord, I don't know what to do. Are you ever going to show up again? You know, that type of thing. And then just lo and behold, a couple opportunities came up. I made some passive income, and like we sustained ourselves through, you know, however long or whatever. But I just had this feeling of like, oh man, I have amnesia. Like I have spiritual amnesia from what God has done. And oftentimes what we do when we have spiritual amnesia is we start to like revert back to like previous idols. Here's what I mean by that. It's like, oh man, like I hope God can provide for me financially. He's taking too long. Well, now I'm going to go like hustle and make an idol out of my career. Or it's like, oh man, I hope, you know, this thing takes place and I can get this situation saved. And it's like, oh no, but then I switch the script. I stop trusting God and I start trusting, you know, my own achievement, my own bank account, my own successes, my own whatever. Like all of these other idols start to take place, start to cover over what God has already said he's going to be able to do. And so here's the main point is, it's our responsibility as men, it's our responsibility as like leaders in our household to go to our families whenever we're in a tough spot or a weird situation where we don't feel like God is going to show up and be like, listen, I know this is who God is. He shows up and makes a way for us. And that's what he's going to do. And exactly what happened with Moses and Aaron. Moses comes down the mountain and is like, dude, I was only gone for 40 days. And you guys like gave up on God? He got you out of Egypt. You gave up? And we do the same thing. We have these epic moments where God does something awesome for us. And then fast forward, it's been like a couple of years and we're like, okay, well, God's not going to do anything for me anymore. So now I got to like make my own way. And it's like, hold on, let him do his thing. Let him wait. Now, obviously you have a part to play, right? Trusting in him, obeying him, listening to his voice, asking for mentorship and wisdom around you to see what you need to do in the specific situation you're in. But it doesn't mean that you take matters into your own hands and you form another God or you create an idol. Instead, you trust in him. Anyway, that's it. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.